Alrighty, welcome back guys to episode 4 of Plat'n. We're here today with Dargel's account. Dargol has 149 platinums for 353 games played, a completion rate of 50.93%. Dargel's first trophy on the account was earned 12 years ago, and it was in Borderlands, which, what a game to start with. It'll be interesting to sort of see if that is also your first platinum down the road. In fact, looking at it now, I can confirm that it is not your first platinum. Dargel's first platinum was in Hyperdimension Neptunia, which is a game I have never heard of. So we are off to a fantastic start. I will join you guys on the games in just a second. Alrighty, so before I get started on the list, do remember, if you would like your own list to be looked at in the probably distant future, we've got quite a few lists coming up, one a week, of course, so get keen. Do make sure to leave it in the comments or join the Discord. The link will be somewhere down below there. And list your profile down there yourself. Also, remember to give this a cheeky subscribe and a thumbs up, just so that I know that you enjoy the content. Anyway, let's get started in here. The first platinum on the list is 428 Shibura Scramble. This is a game I had never heard of prior to this account. I believe this is a visual novel. It took you 6 days and 16 hours. I did a quick Google on this. It seems to be like a crime drama sort of thing. Do correct me if I'm wrong, of course. Next up, we have Abzu, which is a wonderful little indie game where you're essentially diving down the ocean and getting deeper into sort of more mysterious ruins and stuff like that. I haven't actually finished this myself. I started this but didn't earn a trophy. I wasn't kind of feeling the mechanics. I should probably go back to this at some point. You did it in 3 hours and 14 minutes, which is very, very impressive. The next game of note that I sort of see here is Agents of Mayhem, which definitely hurts. 2 unobtainable trophies. That let's go in and see if you have the 2 that are unobtainable, because that would definitely be unfortunate if you. Ooh. Nope. So the platinum is unobtainable, and what do we have here? Complete 15 connected contracts. So obviously there was some sort of server-based co-op thing that has gone down and is unattainable. That really sucks, man. I am sorry to see that. AI The Somnian Files, I believe this is like an adventure sort of game. I don't know if it's turn-based or not. But I believe this is adventure. I could be wrong, of course. I probably am wrong, of course. Akiba's Beat, Akiba's Trip, Undead and Undressed. Fair enough. Alice's Madness Returns. Amplitude. Amplitude is like a racer, I believe. An ultra rare platinum too, 1.36%. That is actually super, super impressive. Took you 2 years and a month. That is actually super impressive. I've never actually seen that platinum before. So one thing you'll notice with Dargel's account, I skimmed through it earlier today just to sort of get a gist of what we'll be looking at, is there's a lot of very unique stuff. So if you want ideas for platinums that are probably a little bit more unique, Dargel's account is definitely up there. It's a very, very impressive one for that sort of stuff. Anarchy Reigns, Anima Gate of Memories. I can't speak apparently. Apex, you love to see it. You love to see a cheeky Apex 100%. Completed in 6 months and a day. You'll actually see there that one of the trophies is unobtainable. As someone who is waiting to get that trophy on the PS5 stack, it is the gold weapon. So a gold weapon is a unique weapon that can spawn on the map. And that has all of the attachments. For some reason, the trophy doesn't pop if you pick one up. I believe it's because none of the guns in this current season have 4 attachment slots of gold gear. So you might be able to get, say, the longbow, but it only has 3 of the 4 slots full. I'm sure that'll probably be fixed just naturally next season. Can't wait for future me to reference this as me being an idiot right now, but I believe that'll probably be fixed in future seasons when the gold weapon that has all of the attachments is available. No Surge Ode to an Unborn Star. can't speak today. And Tenelico Quoga Nell of Seal. I hope that I got that right. Geez, I mocked myself for not being able to say star, and I followed it with that name. So A for effort me. I get a gold star for that one. But these look interesting. I'm not entirely sure what they are, if I'm honest. We've got some very long completions there, 6 years and an 8 years respectively. Aragami, of course, 3 days and 8 hours. Arc of the Alchemist. Arcana Hearts 3 is a very impressive one. I'm only seeing one Assassin's Creed on the list, and that hurts my soul. Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. We've only got 25%, 12 of 45 trophies on the Vita's version 2. I'm sure this would be an easy one for you to clean up if you're interested. I'm going to take an educated guess and say you're not interested, just based on the significant lack of Assassin's Creeds there, because there's like 20 at this point. We've got the Atelier series here. I believe the Atelier series is like a turn-based RPG series. Should I dare to say the titles? Should I go for it? I'm going to go for it. Atelier Ayesha, the Alchemist of Dusk. Atelier Escher and Logi, Alchemist of the Dusk Sky. Atelier Phyrus, the Alchemist and the Mysterious Journey. A lot of alchemists in this series. Atelier Lelua, the Scion of Ireland. Atelier Lydia and Sueli, the Alchemists of the Mysterious Painting. Gotta love a good painting. Atelier Maruru. The Apprentice of Ireland. The Apprentice of Ireland DX. We're just following the Yu-Gi-Oh approach of naming things now. The Alchemist of Ireland. Oh, no, sorry. This is a different Atelier. Atelier Rarana, the Alchemist of Ireland, and the Alchemist of Ireland DX. Oh, there's more. Atelier Riser 2, the Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy. Atelier Riser, Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout. Atelier Shaylee, the Alchemist of the Dusk Sea. Atelier Sophie 2, the Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream. Atelier Sophie, the Alchemist of the Mysterious Book. Oh, there's more. Atelier Tori, the Adventure of Ireland, and Atelier Tori, the Adventure of Ireland DX. You know what? I'm gonna Google what the Atelier series is about, so I can give you a quick informed bit of detail as to what this series is, because I had heard the name before, but I had never actually really looked into it. So it is a franchise of RPGs developed by Gus Corporation since 1997. So there's a bloody metric ton of them. It looks like they might be turn-based RPGs. Would I be correct in saying that? I'm going to say I'm correct in saying that. I'm going to go on the assumption. I'm going to back my gut here, and I'm going to move on to the cheeky Telltales that we've got here. So we have Telltale Batman the Enemy Within and the Telltale series. Always nice to see them both done. I would definitely be interested to see which one you found more interesting of the two. I believe for me personally, I found the first Telltale game a little bit more interesting. It sort of had more twists to the story that definitely made it more memorable. Because, going to be honest, I don't remember anything about the Evil Within. I don't even remember who the main bad guy of the Evil Within is. So, the Enemy Within. Sorry, Evil Within is the Resident Evil knockoff. Battle Chasers Night War. Battlefield 1. Ooh, I like to see that at the Platinum. The 100% is obviously significantly harder. You've got to do things like... get a bunch of weapons in the DLC. That usually involves renting a server just because of how non-existent the DLC playlist populations are at this point. But that is a very impressive Platinum. Obviously, there's the whole, if you own the physical version of the game, some of the challenges are a bit easier because they were never patched compared to the digital version. I'd also just like to point out, you guys can't see it on the screen, but Dargol is also a writer of guides on PSNP. Dargol has written 2 guides, those being... Wow, what a name. Crealur Sigma Trophy Guide and No Straight Roads Trophy Guide. So that's actually really impressive, man. I don't think we've seen a guide writer on this series so far, because I can't read and write, so that rules me out, and I'm not entirely sure about Beautiful Torment or Cicada so far. So I think you've got a first on the series. Congratulations. Anyway, let's move back to the games. We've got a Battlefield 3. We've got Battlefield 5's 100%. Earned during the PS Plus. I also earned it during that period of time. Very, very entertaining game. Also a very easy platinum, and one I would definitely recommend. The campaign kind of sucks in comparison to the multiplayer, which is usually the reverse for me personally. But it's a fun game. It's definitely worth doing. Beyond Two Souls, I can understand why that's left incomplete. We've got Bioshock 1, 2, and Infinite 100%, and in really quick succession. You got one of them on my birthday too, so that's pretty cool. We've got 3 days and an hour for two of them. That's actually really, really cool that they're the exact same time. And then the worst Bioshock is 4 days and 14 hours. I'll say it, Infinite's the worst Bioshock. I can hear you beating down the door, but I'm going to back myself. Next up, we have Bloodborne. This is one I'm looking at going back and cleaning up myself very, very soon. I'm guessing you are a fan of the Souls series based on this. Hopefully we'll see some Dark Souls and maybe a cheeky Elden Ring further down the list. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I believe that is a Castlevania-esque game, so side-scrolling Metroidvania sort of thing. I've heard very, very good things about it. Blue Reflection, The Second Light, I believe these are visual novels, if I'm not mistaken. We've got the Borderlands series. Like I said previously, Borderlands 1. Yeah, Borderlands 1 was the first game you earned a trophy in on this account. So that was 10 years ago, 10 years and 6 months ago. Very, very impressive. Good game to start with. Definitely a very good one. We've got both stacks of Borderlands 1. The PS4 one is at 100%. The PS3 one, obviously, those DLCs are very hard to sort of get these days. Borderlands 2, 100%. Borderlands 3, only 14%. I can understand it. I'm not the biggest Borderlands fan, but I can definitely understand why pre-sequel and 3 are so low completions. They're definitely not of the same tier as Borderlands 1 and 2. I personally like pre-sequel, but that might just because there's a lot of Australians in it, and, you know, I got biases. But the game itself is pretty bland. Borderlands 3, bad villains, boring DLC, lot of DLC. The DLC practices of the second season pass are kind of ridiculous, especially for the significant lack of content you actually get with that DLC. It's the one that I still need to complete personally, but you could probably clean up the base game a little bit. I'm sure it'd up the completion rate if you care enough to do that. I know you've sort of said in the Discord that if you don't like a game, you're just not going to finish it. And that's fair enough. I wish that I could do that personally. Next up, we have Bug Fables. This is like a turn-based RPG where you play as bugs. I've heard and seen very good things about Bug Fables. This is one I haven't played personally, but one I would definitely sort of recommend for people as a bit of a sleeper hit. I've heard very good things, and from the gameplay that I've seen from people streaming in the Discord, I can definitely recommend it. It looks like a blast. It's one that I want to do myself at some point in the future, if possible. Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and the only Call of Duty here. And I believe March 2020 was when it was free on PS Plus. I could be wrong. I could go check my account because that would confirm it. Very, very good game. It's a remaster of Modern Warfare from 2007. No multiplayer. The only two trophies that are sort of going to give you any trouble are Mile High Club, which has you speed running the final mission on veteran difficulty. It's a little bit challenging. Definitely took me a fair few attempts. And then the other trophy that can give people sort of a challenge is there's like a training run at the start of the game. Essentially, you have to get through like a fake wooden house killing targets in, I think it was 13 seconds from memory. And that definitely requires a lot of practice. I remember I sort of worked out where enemies were through walls so I could kind of take two enemies out at once kind of thing. That was definitely very effective. Very, very good game, though. Definitely one I'd recommend. We've got Catherine and Celeste there. Celeste is one, actually, we've got Celeste and Child of Light are both two games I plan on doing very, very soon, especially with the new PS Plus packages having both of these free, I believe. I believe they're both free as part of that. Both games I want to do. Child of Light obviously doesn't have a Platinum. It's an Ubisoft, what would I call that? Like a journey game, I guess you would call it. Essentially, you are just progressing through a story. The story is told in kind of a poem setting, I guess you would call it. Very, very interesting, very unique. Definitely one that I've heard very good things about. Celeste is obviously a side-scrolling platformer of sorts. I've heard that the strawberries are very notoriously difficult. I do believe there is a way that you can cheese it, hence why it's at a 29.81% completion. Otherwise, it'd be significantly lower, I believe. Chrono Cross, that is a sequel to Chrono Trigger, I believe. RPG from the PlayStation 1. Code Vein is a Dark Souls clone. It is also one that is very grindy, I believe. This is the one where you've got to do 400 boss kills, I believe. A lot of them also require multiplayer, which is always like why? Please no, don't hurt me like this. We've got the Crash Bandicoots here, and we've got quite an impressive lineup of them as well. Crash Bandicoot 100%. That's Stormy Ascent, very impressive. Crash Bandicoot 2, also nearly as difficult as Crash Bandicoot 1. I believe from 2 onwards, they kind of have a little bit more upgraded controls, I believe. Crash Bandicoot Warped is the third game. It's the easiest of the original trilogy, I've heard. Obviously, I haven't done them myself because I lack skill. And then Crash for About Time is a beefy one. And it looks like it's one that you're sort of working on at the moment. The 7th of June is obviously only a couple of weeks ago. So I'd be curious to sort of see, are you still continuing with that, or have you just put it down for the time being? And then we got Nitro Fueled to round it off. It's Nitro Fueled. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I did when I was a wee lad. I definitely enjoyed it a hell of a lot more when I was, 15 years ago when I played it. It didn't sort of grip me as much these days. Chris Tales, it's kind of an anime sort of game. I've heard good things about it, I believe. Creolure Sigma, this is one of the games you wrote a guide on, which is very impressive. I'm actually curious to see what this game is, actually. I'm going to... let's dabble. Let's go into it. Let's go into it here. Oh no, I went into it on the wrong link. I'm a professional. So it looks like it is a fighting hack and slash. Okay. And what did we rate the game here? Let's have a look. I'm committed now. 5 out of 10 in 20 hours. That's a rough one. That is definitely a that's a beefy one. That's a beefy one right there. We've got 50 playthroughs. 50. I can't even count that high. Anyway, let's return to the list. That is a lot. That is a lot there. I'm gonna have to scroll. I apologize if it's a little too fast to get back there, because me being the professional, I clicked on the wrong tab. Cross Edge, Crypto the Necro Dancer, 2 trophies there, earned last year. If you ever return to that, good luck. That is a terrifying platinum right there. I've seen people playing it a little bit. You can see there that it's a 0.05% completion. No, thank you. Crystar, Cyber Dimension Neptunia. I think I've heard of that one. I think it is a JRPG. We've got the Danganronpa series, more JRPGs. You've got Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. Danganronpa, another episode, Ultra Despair Girls. We've got 2 stacks of that, one on the PS4 and one on the Vita. We've got Danganronpa V3, Killing Harmony. I'm going to take an educated guess and say that's the 3rd game. Not sure why there's a V in front of the 3. Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, Dark Roads of Outcry, and then we get into the Souls. I predicted it. So we've got Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, Dark Souls 3, and Dark Souls Remastered. All done relatively quickly. Dark Souls 3 being the longest at 1 year and 2 months. Very good games, obviously I'm a big fan of the series myself. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go out on a limb. We haven't seen a PS5 on this account yet. I'm gonna say you haven't done the Demon Souls remaster, but I'm gonna say you have done Elden Ring. That's my early call. That's my early call. We've got Darkwood next. We've got Dead Cells. Dead Cells is a side scroller sort of Metroidvania-esque Dark Souls-y sort of clone thing. It's kind of a combo of all of those. I've heard very good things about it. It's one that I sort of want to try myself at some point. Dead or School, two terrifying options. I'm not entirely sure what the game is about, though, of course. Death End Request, Death End Request 2, Deception 4, The Nightmare Princess, Deep Rock Galactic. Ooh, 10 of 70 trophies. I know a few people going for this on and off myself. This is like a 300-hour platinum. Essentially, it is you play as dwarves, you go into like very large mines looking for resources, and you're fighting off hordes of enemies that are usually insects from memory. Very interesting looking game. I really dig the art style of Deep Rock Galactic. Next up, we have Demon Glaze. Demon Glaze 2. I called the Demon Souls. I called it. Demon Souls, the PS3 is on here, though, which is a game that I'd be curious to see how it lives up at this point, given that it is obviously considerably over a decade now. It's like 13 years old, I think, off the top of my head. Obviously a very, very good game. It started the Souls series. The Black Blade Stone, I believe it is called, is a nightmare drop. It drops from one enemy in the game with a stupidly low drop rate. I know people that have spent months on that trophy alone. If you ever go back to that game, good luck on that trophy. Next up, we have Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has 4 unobtainable trophies, so the Platinum and 3 others. I can already tell you what those 3 are. Those 3 are the subclass-based trophies. So Titan, Warlock, and Jeff. Those are all currently glitched, I believe, so they could obviously be patched in the future, but for now, the Platinum is unobtainable. Destiny Connect TikTok Travelers. I do like TikTok myself. Detroit Become Human. I wasn't a fan of the game either. I can completely understand why you finished with 30 or 49 trophies. Those later playthroughs are so boring, where you've got to sit there and you've got to just go through the same dialogue and the same cutscenes all for a magazine. It was rough. I don't recommend it. I can completely understand that. Devil May Cry 2, this is a hack and slash. Devil May Cry, not number 2, the first game. And by the first game, I think that's actually the reboot, right? Because they did the weird reboot where he's got the white hair, and I think that's the one there. A 6% platinum rarity. Very, very impressive. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. I was always more of a Pokemon guy myself, but obviously very, very impressive. We've got a Disgaea. We've got Dragon Age Inquisition, 1 of 70 trophies. That's 1 trophy too many. Complete letdown compared to the older Dragon Age games like Origins, which is the only good one of the older games now that I think about it, because Dragon Age 2 is kind of poo. The DLC's not bad for it, though. We've got Dragon Quest Heroes 2. We've got Dragon Quest Heroes, The World's Tree, Woe, and The Blight Below. These are like hack and slash, kind of like there's a big battlefield and you play as heroes and essentially just murder enemies around it. There's like a JRPG series that it's kind of like, and I can't think of what that series is called to save my life right now. There's like a million entries in it. No, it's escaped me. But yeah, Dragon Age Quest Heroes is essentially very large battlefields. You play as certain heroes or certain classes and fight those enemies. It looks interesting. It's one I would like to do myself. I'm obviously more interested in Dragon Age 11 Echoes of an Elusive Age, which you have the platinum for here with 1 year and 8 months. This is an actual RPG. The Dragon Quest games are very, very impressive ones. I used to really enjoy ones like Dragon Quest 5, and I really liked 9, which is one you'll never hear anyone talk about. It was one where you kind of created and customized your entire party, and there was sort of some co-op aspects that were very, very good. It was on the Nintendo DS. which makes me feel very, very old now that I'm thinking about it. Dragon Age, Dragon Star Vanir, Dragon's Crown, Drakengard 3, Duke Nukem 3D. You love to see it. Love to see Duke Nukem getting some love. Dungeon Travelers 2, Dusk Diver, Dynasty Warriors. That's the one. That's the one I'm thinking of. So Dynasty Warriors is the one that Dragon Age 2 is like. They're very big. Dragon Quest Heroes, Age of Woe and the Blight Below, whatever it's called. Very large battle games, very similar to Dynasty Warriors, which we have a couple of here. We've got Dynasty Warriors 6, Dynasty Warriors 7, and 7 Empires. I'm not entirely sure what the difference between Empires and Warriors is. I assume, I'm going to make an assumption here. I'm going to say Empires is like a separate release after they did expansions, kind of like Dragon's Dogma and Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, or Diablo 3 and Diablo 3, whatever the spin-off is, whatever the DLC release was. Same sort of concept is what I'm going to assume here. Fairly good platinum rarities too, those. Next up, we have El Shaddai, The Ascension of the Metatron. Exist Archive, Fairy Fencer F, Advent Dark Force. I'm going to assume a lot of these are sort of JRPGs and stuff like that, or sort of hack and slashes. I'm not massively familiar on JRPGs. I do apologize. Definitely as we go through these lists, I'm sure I'll sort of get to know a lot more of them in a bit more detail. We have 2 stacks of Fall Guys. You can actually get a third one as of, I believe today they've released the PS5 version. I'll probably get that myself. That'll be like, I'll have 4 stacks of Fall Guys. It's going to be great. And like no stacks of any other game. Fallen Legion, Flames of Rebellion. We got 1 trophy in Far Cry Primal. What a hell of a bad one to actually start with. That hurts my soul to see. That hurts my soul to see that one specifically. I would recommend a Far Cry 4 or a Far Cry, even a 6 over Primal. Primal's probably my least favorite personally. We've got Final Fantasy 9. Only 1 trophy again. Actually, no, we have a few Final Fantasies here. We've got Type 0 HD, 100% in that one. You love to see it. 15.5%, very impressive platinum. And in 3 days. Wow, you burnt through that. We got the 7 remake, which I think they've announced that it's going to be 3 parts for the 7 remake. So we've got the first one now. I believe we get the second part either at the end of this year or the start of next year. And then there's probably one fucking way off in the distance. I wasn't a big fan of the remake myself, if that's not obvious. I like the original a lot more. They sort of just took a good game and bloated it. Final Fantasy X HD. We've got 12 The Zodiac Age. We have Final Fantasy 13. We got 13-2. I'm glad to not see 14. I'm sure that'd be an absolute beefy platinum to go for. Next up, we have Firewatch 100%. You love to see it. First Class Trouble is like a clone of Among Us, I believe. I believe it's a clone of Among Us. I've heard reasonably good things about it. Fist of the North Star. 2 trophies in Friday the 13th. Good luck with that one if you ever return to it. It looks like there's a few boosting groups here. There's 1 active session. I know there's things like getting 1,000 kills with Jason Voorhees, getting 1,000 wins with the camp counselors, or playing 1,000 games or something like that. No thank you is all I'm going to say there. And to round off the Fs, we have Fury with 10 of 34 trophies. I know Fury is a very, very good game. It's like a boss rush is how I guess I would describe it. You're sort of darting around the screen, avoiding boss attacks and projectiles and stuff. Very, very interesting game. You can see that PS4 rarity is 1.68%, which is very, very impressive. I know the PS5 version has auto pops, I believe, which sort of ups the rarity to about 13%. But this is a very, very good one too here. I'm just going to take a quick break to take a drink real quick because I'm losing my voice right now, so I'll see you in just a second when I get back from the break. Alrighty, and we are back to hit it with Genshin Impact, which is a big RPG, JRPG, MMO. I've just noticed it actually doesn't have a platinum, which is kind of crazy given that I know this game is a very, very long one. You can see that the 100% is at a 0.85%. Ghost of Tsushima is next. You started this. I'm going to guess you weren't a fan of it. That wouldn't honestly surprise me just based on we haven't seen much in the way of things like Assassin's Creeds or Far Cry's. This is essentially an Assassin's Creed clone with just a little bit better combat. 6 of 77 trophies. Can totally understand it. I didn't think it was as amazing as everyone likes to sort of say. I sort of think I don't really get how you could like Ghost of Tsushima but not Assassin's Creed, given how very deeply ingrained all of the core mechanics are in both of them. But we'll move on. We've now got Giraffe and Annika, which seems to be a game you're working on currently. I believe you were talking about this in the Discord last night. Not entirely sure what it is. Based on the thumbnail, I'm going to say it's a JRPG. God Eater 2 and Resurrection. We've got God of War Remastered 2018. Only 5 of 37 trophies. I'm guessing you weren't a fan of this one too. I can imagine that things like the camera angle might frustrate. I know it can definitely be one of those AAA games lately have this thing where they really love to have the camera be really sluggish. So it'll sort of slowly follow the character, and it can definitely be very frustrating. Next up, we have God War Future Past Grand Kingdom with an unobtainable. 2 unobtainable trophies. You hate to see it. That's a beefy platinum too, a 1.05% rarity. You hate to see that. That sucks, man. Gravity Rush is next. I've heard amazing things about Gravity Rush. It's one I would be interested in doing myself at some point. 9 of 64 trophies. We now have Gris or Gree. I believe it's Gree, right? The correct pronunciation. 9 hours and 32 minutes. Very, very impressive. This is sort of a really artsy side scroller, I guess you would call it. You're moving left to right. Very, very impressive game. This is one I would like to do myself at some point here. Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition. You play as like a luchador wrestler. This is another really, really good game that I've heard good things about. I see you started it this year, but you put it down. Next up, we have Heavy Rain, and I can see, I don't even need to go in there. I know it's all of the endings. It's going to be all the different endings and all the sort of various crap that you have to do for those games. David Cage loves to just fill his games with bloat, or the trophy list with bloat. And this is a classic example of that alongside Detroit Become Human. Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, 1 of 15 trophies for a 9%. I've heard fairly good things about this game. It's sort of, you play as I'm going to butcher this. She's a Celtic lady that sort of suffers from several sort of mental hurdles and stuff like that. I've heard that the gameplay can be sort of confronting in sort of how she's facing some of this stuff. It's one that I'd be interested to sort of see myself. Obviously you didn't think it was particularly that great with 1 of 15 trophies. Next up we have Hitman, 6 of 69. Tee-hee, how mature. I love Hitman myself. Obviously I model myself to look like him. Not actually. Not all of us are blessed with the great bald looks. Very, very good game. They're obviously episodic. Hitman 1 is included in Hitman 3, so if you ever wanted to return to the trilogy, Hitman 3 gives you 1, 2, and 3 with all of their DLCs in one neat little trophy list there, which is very, very nice. Hollow Knight is next. You started it but didn't get particularly far into it. I do know that the Pantheon can give people troubles. I think there's also a glitch that you can use to get through the Pantheon. Otherwise, the Platinum rarity would be significantly rarer. By Pantheon, it's essentially like a boss rush of all the game's bosses back to back to back to back. Kind of like Remnant's DLC, Remnant from the Ashes. Horizon Chase Turbo, we got the Platinum there. That is very, very nice. That is a racer, like an arcade racing game, essentially. Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn. Honestly, I understand what I'm seeing right here, 100%. Zero Dawn, very, very good game. Very, very good DLC. I can completely agree with that 100%. Horizon Forbidden West, my personal worst game of the year so far. I honestly despise this game. It's not great in my opinion. The story is very non-existent. It sets itself up for a lot of DLC, put it that way. Essentially, they cut a lot of aspects that would have made the story interesting and just kind of neatly left them unexplained for DLC. Aloy as a character went from an interesting one in the first game to an obnoxious one in the sequel. I couldn't get into it myself either. I can completely understand this one here. We've got Hyperdimension Neptunia 2, Neptunia PP, Neptunia Rebirth, Rebirth 2, Victory, Indivisible, and it's an unobtainable. You hate to see it. 3 trophies. That really sucks that you have a few unobtainables on here. I know you're not necessarily as big on completion and stuff, but this would definitely hurt my soul. It's always something that I'm sort of worried about personally. That's why I went back and cleaned things up like Black Flag's multiplayer recently, just because those old multiplayer servers, you never know when they're going to go down. And it is the fear of many a trophy hunter. Infamous 1, 10 of 50, means you don't have to do the shards. I can understand this 100%. Jack 1, 2, and 3. I like that you did 2 without using the dev console commands. Very, very impressive. I like to see that quite a bit. 2 days, 11 hours, and 3 days. You can see they're very, very short. For the people that haven't necessarily played them, they're essentially just collectathons, like platforming collectathons, kind of like Ratchet and Clank or Super Mario 64. But that sort of thing. Jack X Combat Racing, on the other hand, is like a racing game, kind of like Mario Kart, where you got weapons and stuff like that as well. Jet Set Radio, you love to see it. That's a classic itself. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We got Journey on there, 2 of 14. I went to do Journey very recently, and me and the person I was going to do it with, shout out Bruce, man. We couldn't link up to save our lives, so we had to give up on it, sadly. You can see there's currently a gaming session in there if you ever did want to clean it up. Judgment is next. You play as I'm going to get this wrong. Judgment is essentially made by the people who did Yakuza, and I believe you play as like a detective in a school or something like that. It's one that I'm sort of interested in doing myself at some point. Katamari Damacy is one where you play as a giant ball that is like sucking up everything in the environment to get bigger and bigger. This is an interesting one. Another one that I'm sort of interested in maybe looking at some point. Killer is Dead, Kingdom Hearts, 1% and 2% respectively on the Kingdom Hearts. I can understand that. These are very beefy JRPGs that blend things like Final Fantasy with Disney characters. Yes, Disney characters. That goes to show how much I watch Disney movies at this point. It blends a lot of those sorts of things into sort of one big atmosphere, which is very, very interesting and very, very unique. Knockout City is next. I believe this was like a competitive MMO. You got the 100% in it, which is very, very impressive in a month too, for a juicy ultra rare right there. LA Noire, not complete. This hurts me as I think the final AAA game released in Australia, which is kind of scary when you think about it, given that it's been like over a decade and there's no big studios left in Australia. This was sort of the last big hurrah. I love this game personally. It's like a detective game set in the 1950s. You play over several years of a detective's career, with obviously there being a story that I won't spoil. Labyrinth of Refrain, Last Rebellion. I believe Last Rebellion is a visual novel. Light Fairy Tale Episode 1. We've got Little Big Planet 3 here. This is an unobtainable now. Quite a lot of it's down just due to the servers being down. Lords of the Fallen, 8%, for 6 trophies. Yeah, this is a bad one. I literally got to the final boss and I just put the game down. I haven't even bothered to try and fight him. I was just like, no, this sucks. For the Platinum, you have to do 3 playthroughs, one with each class. So you've got Thief, Paladin, and Warrior, I believe it is, of the 3. So Stealthy guy, Magic guy, Big Sword guy. When you actually play them, they're all the exact same guy. Like there's no distinguishing stuff between the classes besides little weapon, medium-sized weapon, and big boy weapon. Very disappointing. It was kind of the first Souls clone. Thank God we got more after that, because they then kind of redeemed themselves with the Surge and the Surge 2 to an extent. Lost Dimensions, Mad Max. Ooh, that one hurts. That one hurts. I want to actually see, can you get the Platinum in Mad Max? I like Mad Max. It's an open world game that's got very similar sort of combat to the Shadow of War or the Arkham games. They're all made by Warner Brothers, obviously. So you can't get the Platinum, obviously. Can you get the unobtainable trophy? No. Ooh, that's unfortunate to see. I am sorry to see that, man. Next up, we will go to Mei Mijin and Forsaken Kingdom. I believe that looks like it's a adventure game of some description. Mark of the Ninja, we got Spider-Man there. I would be definitely interested to sort of see if you decide to go for Miles Morales at some point. I've heard very, very good things about Miles Morales. I've even heard that it might even be better than the original Spider-Man. I really like the original Spider-Man myself. Big open world sort of sandboxy game. A great game to get started in Platinums, honestly. Medieval is next. This is a remaster of the PS1 Classic. The PS1 Classic being kind of like a hack and slash of sorts, I guess you would call it. You play as the skeleton of a fallen knight who has returned to do a quest. Without going into too much terribly detail. Mega Dimensions, Mega Dimension Blanc, and Neptune versus Zombies. I don't even... My brain hurt at the concept of the title. I don't know what sort of game it is. I'm going to assume that that's kind of like a hack and slash. Obviously, I could be very, very wrong, and probably am very, very wrong. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I love Snake Eater myself. It's probably my favorite of the Metal Gears. I do like Phantom Pain actually quite a bit, but I think 3 is probably the winner for me. There's some really cool concepts in here, like if you leave the game on for an extended period of time, a boss just kind of dies from old age and stuff like that. That's very, very interesting. I believe they also did some gimmicks like on the PlayStation 2, one of the bosses would like play around with your control inputs, and you had to like you had to unplug the control and put it in a different port, for example, which is very, very interesting. I don't think any of those sorts of gimmicks carried over into the PS3 version, but I could obviously be very, very wrong. Metal Gear Xeno, we got Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year edition. I can completely understand why you don't have the 100%. Some of the DLC in, I believe it is Shadow of the Hunt, is very, very tricky. You got to do some time trial combat related stuff that isn't very fun. I played around with it a little bit myself. I'll probably go back to it at some point, but yeah, I can understand why this one's just the Platinum. Next up, we have Monster Hunter World, 12%. This is a beefy one that I've talked about extensively on this channel at this point. Big, I guess you'd call it an MMO, action RPG. You're going out as, you're kind of making builds and looting gear to go out and fight bigger and badder monsters. Mortal Shell's Platinum. That hurts me to see. So I was about 20 minutes away from the Platinum and the game corrupted and deleted my save. I was not a big fan of this. I streamed it on twitch.tv/symmetry. Shameless plug is shameless. But it's an interesting Souls game. It's got a really interesting mechanic where you can harden up to tank a hit periodically and it won't do any damage to you. You kind of turn into like a statue. You can take the bodies of fallen soldiers. There's specific soldiers that you can take the bodies of to make builds around them, which was a really cool concept. I think there's 4 base game bodies and a DLC body that all have, one might be experienced in big two-handed weapons. One might be experienced as like a thief, for example. Very cool concepts. I wasn't a fan of the environments. The person who made the hub a swamp. I don't like that person very much. They're not getting a Christmas card. Anyway, let's move on. Mortal Shell, very, very good game. I'd say it's good. 10% Platinum Rare Trophy. I won't be bumping that up anytime soon because I'm still very butthurt, but great game. We've got the Mugen Souls, Murdered Soul Suspect. I've talked about this one extensively of how this is one of my early Platinums that I have no memory of whatsoever. I believe it was on sale for $2 Australian, or $2 dues. Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch, and Revenant Kingdom. These are interesting. They're big JRPGs where it's kind of like Pokemon. You're kind of collecting monsters and battling with them to an extent. I remember, I haven't played these, but I do remember playing, I haven't played them, but I played. I played the intro of Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch, and it's got a really dark opening from memory. I remember that one being one where I was like, oh, geez, this is like a, not aimed for kids, but like, this is a fairly bright and colorful RPG with some really dark undertones, which is kind of a cool concept. Maybe I'll look into Ni no Kuni myself at some point. We've got the Nier games, Nier and Nier Automata. I've heard very, very good things about them. Probably not my cup of tea personally. I believe these are hack and slashes. Knights of Azure 1 and 2. We've got Neo's Platinum, but not the 100%. The 100% requires you to essentially run through the game again and again and again and again and again on various different difficulties. I can understand why that's not very appealing. I wouldn't want to do it myself. This is essentially a Japanese setting of a Souls clone. But a very good one. This is one that's actually worth doing. It brings in some interesting sort of mechanics with spirits and stuff like that. No Straight Roads is the second game you wrote a trophy guide for. You complete it in 2 months and 4 weeks. It's an ultra rare platinum too. So if you want to go for an ultra rare platinum, Dargol's got you covered here. Oddworld New and Tasty. This is a remaster. No, this is not a Is this the remaster? One of them's a remaster and one of them is a new release of the classic side-scrollers from the PlayStation 1. Akami HD, you love to see it. This is kind of a classic itself. We'll scroll down to Overwatch's Platinum and 100%. Very, very impressive. I believe this is shutting in October. So you obviously won't be able to get the Platinum because I believe they're releasing a second game of Overwatch. I'm one of the rare people that never actually played Overwatch, so I don't massively know much about it outside of it being an arena shooter, kind of like Apex's arenas, for example. So each legend has different abilities and stuff, and you're sort of working as a team to beat the living pulp out of the other team, which is an interesting concept. Paladins is a free-to-play version of the exact same thing, essentially. Another ultra rare. I think those are two of your higher ultra rares right there. Overwatch being a 1.87 and Paladins being a 2.10%. You love to see it. Congratulations, man. Very, very impressive. Panzer Dragoon and Persona 3 Dancing Moonlight as next. I've actually never heard anything about Persona 3. You always hear about 4 and 5 obviously being the like mega popular games that I've never played. Maybe I should look into these. Definitely let me know if Persona is worth pursuing. I believe Dancing the Moonlight is a dancing game. I believe Persona 4 Dancing All Night is also a dancing game. Save myself there. I think Persona 4 Golden is like a refined version of Persona 4. I think it adds like the DLC and stuff. The same way that Persona 5 Royal adds DLC to Persona 5. You can see that you have the Platinums in 3 dancing, 4 dancing, 5 dancing, but not Strikers or Golden, which is definitely interesting. I've heard that Persona 5 is a meaty one. I do know Guy Firuski, another trophy hunter, has a really good guide for Persona 5. If I ever play the game, that's definitely sort of what I would look into if I didn't do the Royal version, for example. Anyway, let's move on to, we've got PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, unobtainable trophies here as well. Let's see if you can get them. Let's see if they're ones that you've got or not already. Platinum's obviously unobtainable. We have got 2 of them here. We've got Earn a Triple Kill and Earn a Double Kill. Ooh, no, we don't have these ones, unfortunately. So completing a versus match, a ranked online match, and a win a match made online game. win a match-made online game. Is that like a custom game mode? I'm guessing. Because, I mean, in theory, you earn that for, like, any of these, right? Just win a game online, which I'm assuming would have happened naturally. Win a match-made online game without dying. I'm gonna say that's like some sort of special game mode. That's what I'm gonna settle my conclusions on. Whether I'm correct or not, do let us know in the comments. Anyway, let's return to, we've got Prey there at 1%. This is one that I'm looking at doing myself at some point. This is a spiritual successor to the Prey from 2006, but it doesn't really copy that one very much at all. That one was kind of an action RPG. This one is kind of a bit of a slower burn. You're on a spaceship. It's made by the guys of Dishonored, so if you like Dishonored, Arcane Studios, I believe they're called. If you like Dishonored, this is the same sort of thing. You're on a spaceship trying to sort of work out what happened to the crew and all that sort of stuff. The trophies tailored around finding what happened to everyone. There's aliens that can turn into different objects and stuff, so you're going to come out of it with a crippling fear of cups, for example. I've heard very, very good things about Prey. It's got a DLC that I've heard is a little bit tricky, but it's one that I plan on doing very, very soon. I know that Prey, the base game at least, is free on the PS Plus Premium package of the new thing. I believe that means it's free on all of them, given that it's a PS4 game, but I'll probably do it during the next couple months myself. Psychonauts Platinum, you'll love to see it. That's another classic. We've got PUBG, Punchline, Ratchet and Clank. You weren't a fan of I'm guessing you weren't a fan of the 2017 movie tie-in / kind of reboot. Rayman's Legends is a really impressive one here. Is Rayman's Legends the one where you've got to do the daily quests for like 4 months? I'm going to assume it is, just based on the ultra rare platinum. Red Dead 1 and 2, you barely sort of, you've dipped your toe. You've got like, your big toe is in the Red Dead waters. But I love these games personally. I can definitely understand why people don't, especially as trophy games. They are beefy bastards, and some of those challenges in both games, the gambling trophy and the DLC for Red Dead 1, where you need like 10 people, they're just ridiculous. Some of them are just outright ridiculous, but the stories are obviously very, very good, in my opinion. We've got Remnant from the Ashes. I don't even need to go in there. Swamp of Courses is going to be the DLC that hasn't been done yet. I think you've actually talked about it in the Discord from memory. So Remnant from the Ashes is a Souls-like game, but with guns. It's a very, very good game. I've talked about it extensively on the channel already. I'll probably talk about it more in the future, just because I think it is an absolutely banger of a game. One, I need to get the platinum in myself at some points, but some of the trophies are brutal. You got to do things like get all the armor sets, get a bunch of scrap, which is the currency, get some rings and stuff like that, but they're all based on the worlds, but the worlds themselves are kind of like randomly generated, so you're not guaranteed to get a world during a playthrough sort of thing, which means you can do lots of runs. And then that DLC, Swamp of Courses, which is the one I believe you haven't got completed here, is like a boss rush. So you got to beat 10 bosses, and I've heard that it's notorious of crashing. I've heard it kind of sucks because like it's a Souls-like, so it's based around bosses, but it's not based around bosses where you're trying to rush them, and I think that sort of stuffs the balance of the game a bit. Very, very good game, and one that I would definitely recommend. A week and 2 days is a very impressive platinum time. Hopefully you're able to get those DLC at some point if that interests you, of course. I'll probably be doing it myself in the coming months as well, just to sort of tidy up my my backlog. We've got the Resident Evils next. We've got Resident Evil 1. You've done a couple of playthroughs, but not all of the playthroughs. These are obviously survival horrors and classics of gaming. I love the Resident Evils. Resident Evil 2 is nearly at 100%, one trophy off. I'm going to take a guess and say that is No Way Out, which is where you play as a cop in a police station. Not a police station. A petrol station, or a servo, as we say in Australia. and you are fighting 100 zombies that come in at stagnated periods of time. There's RNG as to what sort of zombies you get. I've run that a few times myself for no luck. I sort of run out of ammo and end up getting things like the lickers and stuff, which that's not fun. But Resident Evil 2's remake itself is very, very good. I'm definitely looking forward to Resident Evil 4's remake down the track. Definitely looking forward to seeing sort of how it pans out. We've got Res Infinite. We've got the Saints Rose 4 and Get Out of Hell. I believe these were both free on PS Plus at some point. Funny enough, 4 actually has an Australian stack because of censorships that the game faced. I really like 4. 4 is like a GTA sort of style clone, but you've got superpowers and stuff. It's an interesting game. Get Out of Hell I didn't like quite as much. This is essentially a spin-off to the series. You play as a character named Gat who is in hell trying to save the boss and get out of hell, essentially. Open world in hell. The Platinum is very, very side quest based, so you're doing a lot of side activities and challenges and not much main story. I think the main story can be done in like 4 hours. There's some co-op in just Get Out of Hell. The co-op is very, very basic. I think it is literally just play 3 hours with another player. When I went for that, my partner disconnected at like 2 hours and 54 minutes. So we then did another 3 hours for them because it didn't count any of that time. That definitely sucked. I don't really recommend that one, but I can recommend 4 and 3 here. I would love to see 1 and 2 be remastered at some point. I do know they're essentially rebooting the series, which is definitely definitely exciting thing. We've got Sayonara Wild Hearts. This is like a runner, like a side-scrolling runner, I believe. I've heard very, very good things about it. It's definitely one that is on my watch list myself. Sekiro, this is a Souls game. One that is very heavy on the parroting, for example. And I've heard very, very good things about Sekiro. It's the only one I haven't played myself. I wasn't a big parrier in the Dark Souls games, so when I found out that the game was pretty much hinged around that, I wasn't overly interested, but I would like to go back to Sekiro at some point and actually do it. As you can see, 4 months and 2 weeks, very impressive. Nice work, man. We've got some Shadow of the Colossus, we've got some Shenmue, we've got Sleeping Dogs. This is a GTA clone setting in Singapore with a heavy emphasis on melee combat. Very, very good game. You're sort of playing as an undercover cop, so there's some different systems in place to sort of balance your criminal rating and your police rating, which is interesting. You can't, for example, do a lot of damage while driving around because that'll lower your cop rating, for example. I really, really like Sleeping Dogs. I can definitely recommend it. I do remember that the DLC was kind of poo though, but you clearly smashed through that as well. We've got some Sly Cooper. We've got 1, 2, and 3. Thieves in Time, I think, is like a spin-off. I believe that is a spin-off because you've got Thieves in Time, and then you also have the mini games one, which is definitely a spin-off, obviously. Soul Calibur 5 and 6, very impressive. These are fighting games that are definitely beefy platinums. You can see that the Soul Calibur 5 is a 2.7%, for example, and 6 is a 7.66%. We've got Fractured But Whole and The Stick of Truth, South Park games, amazing games. I highly recommend these if you like South Park. They're very, very funny. They're both turn-based, but one of them's turn-based and then one of them's sort of like a grid-base. Which is interesting. I like that they sort of mix up the combat between the two games to make it sort of fresh. The first game is kind of like a medieval inspired turn-based RPG. The second game is more superhero themed, which is also very nice. It keeps them sort of a bit more fresh, but you do a lot of wacky and wild stuff in the game. Highly recommend South Park. The platinums themselves aren't too bad. The collectibles can be highly missable though, so you'll sort of want to have a guide up at the very least to sort of know what you need to do on the different days in the game. The Spyro trilogy, relatively straightforward. These are kind of like the Jack and Daxter's platformers, where you collectathon platformers. Very, very good games. Very, very charming. I think they are the childhood of many of us here. Star Ocean, wow, these are massive. These are very big. I believe they're MMORPGs. You can see that one of them is a 0.86%, one is a 2.71%. Obviously, you didn't get terribly many trophies in them, but I'm also going to take an educated guess and say you played a hell of a lot of the game to get those trophies, because these are the sorts of games where you're putting 1,000 hours in and getting 20 trophies kind of thing. I'm sure that's an over-exaggeration, but you do get the drift. We got State of Mind, we got Steins Gate, we got Street Fighter 5, Streets of Rage. I'm starting to notice that you do like your fighters a bit. I'll be interested to see if we see Tekken below. Super Dimension Neptunia vs Sega Hard Girls. Fair enough. Tales from the Borderlands. I believe the Super Dimension Neptunias and stuff like that are often things like JRPGs or visual novels. I'm not massively familiar on them. I always find the names great. Tales of Berseria. The Tales series is a JRPG that I've heard fairly good things about. So you've got Tales of Berseria, Tales of Grace, Tales of Hearts, Tales of Symphonia, Vesperia's remaster, because I believe these have been going since about the PS2 generation. We've got Zestiria, for example. We've got Team Sonic Racing. Of the Tales series, you've got the Platinums in Berseria and Zilla. So that's actually really impressive. You can see there that Zillia, for example, took 5 years and 9 months, which is very, very impressive to see. I do like to see those sorts of platinums there. Teen Sonic Racing, the Caligula Effect, the Caligula Effect Overdose, the Cruel King and the Great Hero. I believe that's a adventure game. I think we got Skyrim here. You can see you did half of the trophies on the PS3 version. You then started the PS4 version and probably went, oh yeah, this has got bad combat, and then left it again. The Evil Within, I don't blame you for how little the trophies are there. The Evil Within 1 is very, very rough. I would say give the Evil Within a crack if you're able to get it for cheap. It definitely improves on the first game by quite a bit and is actually an enjoyable game. The Guide of Fate Paradox, The House of the Dead 4. I think The House of the Dead, that's an on-rail shooter, is it not? I think it is. The King of Fighters, another fighting game. The Last Guardian, this is one where you play as a little boy who's trying to form like a bond with a giant beast, I guess you would call it, a giant animal that sort of is largely unresponsive at the start of the game, but becomes a bit more responsive sort of as the game progresses and your bond with him grows. You're sort of solving puzzles using the two characters. Very, very interesting game. I know the trophies are kind of rough. There's things like speed runs and stuff like that. It's a game I'd like to look into myself. You clearly started it, but might not necessarily have got into it as much. We then have The Legend of Heroes, Cold Steel 1, 2, and 3, and 4. JRPGs, The Liar Princess and the Blind Prince. That's looks like it's the same series as The Cruel King and the Great Hero, just based on the platinum tile there. The Lost Child, The Mark of Kree, The Midnight Sanctuary, The Surge 1 and 2. I knew I was going to see them. I called it that we'd see The Surge 1 and 2. These were essentially, once the devs that made the Lords of the Fallen realized they'd made a bad game, they then came out and released better games over time. So The Surge 1 is kind of a rougher sort of game. It's better than Lords of the Fallen, but it's definitely a little bit scrappy. And then The Surge 2 is actually a genuinely pretty good game. You can see there that Dargol completed it in 2 days and 17 hours in comparison to the platinum of a year and 2 months for the first game. First game has some DLC. I don't think the DLC is particularly too difficult, so if you did enjoy the game enough, I would definitely recommend maybe going back and cleaning up that DLC. I think there's 3 DLC from memory, if I'm not mistaken. The Witch and the Hundred Knight and the Revival Edition, which is just the remaster. These are like I believe these are JRPGs with some like hack and slash elements from memory. The Witcher 3, 1%, that hurts my soul. I love The Witcher 3. I love the Witcher series. I still think 2 has the best story of the trilogy, but 3 is definitely a fun one. Death March, the hardest part about the Death March difficulty is actually the first fight of the entire game. Stuff that fight. We got Thief's remaster, not a good remaster. Definitely kind of killed the series. Revive the series, just kill it again, essentially. We got Thumper, we got Time and Eternity, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep. This is like a spin-off of the DLC from Borderlands 2, where Tiny Tina is coming up with a game series in her mind, and you are playing those events, and those events are sort of changing rapidly just based on her emotions and thoughts at the time, which is a very interesting concept. We've got Titanfall 2. I love Titanfall 2. It's a first-person shooter with an absolute banger of a campaign. The Gauntlet trophy, where you have to beat a gauntlet in 33 seconds, is very, very rough, though. I don't enjoy that part. I definitely don't enjoy that part of the game. We've got Tokyo Dark Remembrance. Not entirely sure what that is. I'm going to assume that's like maybe like a visual novel, perhaps. Do let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, of course. We've got Touhou Kabuto 5 Burst Battle. I believe this is a fighter. I believe this is a like a side-to-side fighter, kind of like Street Fighter and stuff like that. Trackmania Turbo, Trials of Mana, Trinity Universe. We've got one of the Uncharted's. We've got the first one in Drake's Fortune. You started it. I'm guessing you didn't really feel the game too much and put it back down. I can understand that. The controls, because the game originally came out in 2006, they didn't really update anything with the game, so I can definitely understand that it could have potentially felt a little bit old and dated. Unravel is a side-scrolling sort of adventure game. There's some puzzles in there too. You play as a little dude that's made of yarn. You can, for example, you can slide down great gaps using your own string. Very, very charming game. I believe you can play Unraveled in 2-player. I know one of the 2 Unravels, I believe it's the second game, is actually genuinely very difficult to do because you've got a lot of like no death trophies, which is interesting. Until Dawn, I love Until Dawn. This is kind of like a decision-based, like a Telltale game, but your decisions actually kind of massively impact things. Depending on what you do, characters can die in certain scenarios. It's a horror. It's got people like Hayden Panettiere and that one dude that was the villain in the last James Bond movie, and I think he starred as Queen in that movie that came out very recently. I can't think of what his name is. What's his... Oh, I know I'm a big fan of the actor. He's in The Pacific as well. Remy Malik. Remy Malik is in it as well. So you got Hayden Panettiere and Remy Malik, who are obviously great actors. Highly recommend Until Dawn. This is one that I would definitely sort of recommend maybe cleaning up. You can usually get it in about like a day or two. The trophies are pretty much very collectible base dependent, and getting through the game with everyone alive, getting through the game, killing everyone. Usually you can kill them all like at the end of a save, and then just load your cloud save and have everyone alive when you do it again. We've got Valkyrie Chronicles, Valkyrie Revolution, Vampire. Vampire is an interesting one. This is one that I have the platinum in myself, and I've never experienced a game run so well on the initial playthrough, and then the second you finish the game and go back to clean the game up, it just broke. It just became a buggy mess. It was crashing every 20 minutes. Trophies weren't popping correctly. The trophy list is kind of difficult in Vampire. You've got to get through it without essentially feeding on anyone, which means you're about 15 levels under leveled for every encounter in the game, which sucks. Vanquish is a sort of like a Destiny sort of clone. It's like a shooter. I believe it's third person, not first person, however. Virtue's Last Reward, where We Were Here, that's a puzzle game. You're playing as co-op to sort of get through. I believe it is like a big spooky like mansion / castle thing. You need another player, and you will It's a nice, charming one. It took you about 3 hours, which I think is sort of the average for getting through We Were Here. That's a series I'd like to do myself. Hashtag no friends. Hashtag I'm sad now. What Remains of Edith Finch is a very charming kind of like investigation sort of game. You're going to the house of your essentially relatives, and you're kind of recounting the events that sort of happened to all of them. The family was sort of notorious for being very unfortunate. So you're sort of seeing some of those events through memories in the house itself. Very, very interesting game, and one I would definitely highly recommend. White Knight Chronicles, Wolfenstein Youngblood. I do not blame you for that 2%. Wolfenstein Youngblood is rough. I am very, 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 very slowly working through that myself. We've got World of Tanks here, which is a 500-hour platinum, and I know it pumps out DLC like no one's business. It's unobtainable now, I believe. I looked at this list the other day, actually. I believe that the unobtainable trophies are like campaigns, right? I believe they're like single-player campaigns or something. We've got some Yakuzas here. Like a Dragon's platinum is there. That's a really impressive one. I believe Like a Dragon is kind of like a turn-based Yakuza, right? They sort of take the normal formula. No, the normal formulas. Yeah. This is the one that's turn-based, right? Like a Dragon is the newest one where they sort of took the regular formula, which is almost like a beat 'em up kind of thing, and they turned it into a turn-based, I believe. This is a platinum. I would like to dip my toe into Yakuza at some point. I'm always just terrified of the trophies like the Mahjong and the 150 hours and stuff like that. My backlog is long enough without 150 hours. I can say that with confidence. We then have the Yeezers. We've got Zenki Zero. And then the last platinum here, Zero Time Dilemma. Oh, I really like this account, actually. This was an account where I really like this account for one big reason. There's a lot of stuff on here that is very unique. It's stuff that I don't massively see a lot of. Yourself and Beautiful Torment as well were very, very good for where this is an aspect that I struggle with personally with my account, where it'll get filled with a lot of like AAAs and stuff, because there's a lot of good stuff on here. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily know. It's very obvious you really like your JRPGs and stuff like that, which is really cool. It's a genre that I am very, very unfamiliar with at this point. I know Dragon Quest. Do I get like a gold sticker for Dragon Quest? Very impressive platinum. Very impressive account. 149 platinums. I would definitely be excited to see what your 150th platinum will be. But yeah, this has been Dargol's account. Very good one. I like this one quite a bit. If you would like your own account to be added to the list and reviewed in the future, do leave a comment down below. Do leave a cheeky subscribe, just so I know that you like the content. We are getting very close to that 100 subscribers, which is very, very cool. If we could hit that in the next week or two, that'd be bloody sick. I will also try and have these out weekly. So these will come out Wednesdays each week, Tuesday night for people who are in America and places like that. Anyway, this has been Dargol's account. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you in next week's one. I miss you already. Bye-bye.